I think today I would like to open this up with a somewhat familiar story. For those of you who have been here a while, you know that when I started my channel around 3 years ago, I had literally hit rock bottom. I was incredibly sick almost all the time, in and out of the hospital, and within the first month of even running my channel, I suffered a heart attack, which to this very day, I am surprised did not do me in. When it gets down to it, my reasons for making videos at all were because I was at a point in my life where I felt I had nothing to lose. I had zero goals, zero idea of where I wanted to go with any of it, and I figured something would come along and lend justification to my actions. I want to talk about what I learned. After 3 years of doing this, and having moved from traditional Let's Play content into more narrative-based short film, the thing that I have realized more than anything else is that the only person who needs to be satisfied with the outcome of the work is me. I was never going to be one of those people who makes it big, and I certainly had just as many haters as I did people who liked my content. Yet the thing about it was that I never made all of this content to cater to other people's preferences. That was never why I was here. The thing which I have said consistently for 3 years is that I can go back and watch stuff from year one, and it still has just as much appeal to me personally when watching it in year 3. Well, now year 4. The same laughs, the same wow moments. It remains enjoyable even now. And the reason I bring this up is I have realized that is not how the world thinks anymore, assuming it ever did. You may notice things are a little different today. We have taken a trip overseas to the Isles of Great Britain. And as someone who normally road trip talks in the good old US of A, the reason for this change in perspective is to draw a parallel. If you will indulge me, I would like to wax philosophical about how, while being a creator myself, I do spend a fair bit of time immersing in the worlds that other creators create. As an example, I'll point out that I am one of those people who has watched stuff like The Amazing Digital Circus, though I would not consider myself a diehard fan or anything like that. Recently, I have seen on social media how Gooseworks, the creator of that series, has completely fallen out of love with her own work because her audience decided to eviscerate Glitch Productions for refusing to cater to their wants or their preferences for the series. Gooseworks herself created the thing that she wanted to create, hoping to share that with others, but the entitlement of the fan base is ultimately what destroyed everything for her. When I saw this play out in real time, I immediately thought of Motorfest and the things that I witnessed from that community. To me, it is the same principle. The developers at Ubisoft Ivory Tower created the games which they wanted to play for themselves, and their goal was to share that with others. The people who liked the games would buy them, and the people who didn't, well, that's on those people. Yet, the community decided that they would use the Discord server to heavily criticize everything Ivory Tower has ever done, which did not cater to their wants or preferences, even going as far as to advocate IP theft along the way to punish the company. As a creator, I could only see that as disrespect, yet that is just where we are at as a society. It doesn't matter whether you are an individual like me, an indie group like Glitch, or a corporation like Ubisoft. The only ones who need to be satisfied with what they create are the ones who created it in the first place. The death of creativity is at the hands of the consumer who has sought gratification over appreciation. And I say this as an AI channel because while a mere 1% of my content is generative, people who claim to be artists will also claim that my support of AI 100% taints every work I have ever made. These people are just as guilty of the hoopla, whether they care to realize it or not. Most people claiming to be artists make nothing of their own. They peddle commissions, which is taking someone else's vision and turning it into a tangible product. So they use that to hold hostage someone else's vision, as well as to introduce their own preferences into it. Some artists are so egregious that they will forbid you from making changes to the art you paid for. Like, imagine doing so with my channel logo, the human pretzel. Because yes, that was based on a photo of me when I was around 25 years old. I commissioned the line art, and I made sure that I would be allowed to both make changes to it myself and to use it in any project I damn well pleased. Imagine if the artist had said they would forbid me from doing any color work of my own and would require it to be done by them only. That is claiming copyright on me, a real-life person. Though, no, this artist and I did have an agreement, so everything fell under licensing rather than copyright. The thing about AI specifically is that when done correctly, data training is done under license. Therefore, copyright does not apply. And AI-generated works without human intervention are wholly public domain, meaning they conform with the idea of a truly open internet. When people talk about democratized creativity, that is what they actually mean. It is this idea that a creator can generate open assets for a project that they will ultimately put together themselves. And as the one putting the project together, the only person who needs to be happy with the end result is them. Artists hate that because they are consumers of concept just as much as anybody else. Because if they have no one to make art for, they will literally sit on their asses complaining, or they will make derivative works of whatever happens to be popular at the time. Yes, fan art is still a copyright violation if you do not have a license to create that fan art in the first place. That is how the real world works. Yet, what really ties all of this together in a neat little bow, and it's a little ironic given I am writing this script out on the 22nd of May, is that the newest Forza Horizon game just came out. I can tell you with 100% certainty that the reason these games are so popular, that millions of people are alleged to flock to the Horizon franchise, is because it tries so hard to cater to the preferences of everyone at the expense of any artistic direction. Truthfully, such a claim reveals less about Microsoft or Playground Games, but rather everything about society and the world we live in. And while I could have traveled to Japan on Microsoft's $22 Game Pass ticket, I elected instead to make a detour here. The reason is that when you get down to it, bearing witness to what happens when the festival has concluded speaks volumes of how socially engineered the entire concept happens to be. These are 6 entire games now about Coachella for cars, where you get a free ticket to a completely open sandbox, are handed the fastest cars in the world for 0 effort, showered with millions of dollars for doing the bare minimum, paid just as much for placing dead last as you are for finishing first, and are competing quite literally for a gold-colored wristband. The only way to understand the appeal of this is to understand why people go to Coachella in the first place. In the real world, yes, it costs a fair bit more than $22, but what you get is supposed to more than make up for that. Having the opportunity to buddy up with talented musicians and well-known celebrities is engineered to make you feel like a member of the elite class. Amenities get taken care of on your behalf. You're allowed to wander from area to area without much restriction or oversight. And at the very end of it all, you are often left with a considerable amount of B-roll to publish to social media, a validation of deserving to be there in the first place. What happens when it's all over, though? 2 out of 3 people will promptly never do it again and will stop talking about it within 6 months. The third person in this equation will likely become a repeat attendee and will do so only for what the festival represents in terms of status, rather than the actual content of which artists are performing and what have you. The reason I am filming today's talk in Forza Horizon 4 is to demonstrate that very principle. Because with everybody having gone off to Japan for Forza Horizon 6, this game is no longer a Forza Horizon game. It is just driving in the UK. I have no doubt that the recent release is phenomenal in terms of presentation and multiplayer, because that is all anyone cares about anymore. But when I ask myself, what story did a developer like Playground Games actually want to tell? The truth is, I know the audience doesn't care. The point I have been alluding to for the past 10 or so minutes is that there is so much entitlement in arts, media, culture, everything. And it's just so hard to do things for yourself as opposed to for an audience who will never actually appreciate it. Let me give you an honorable mention here. When I was filming Motorfest Rematch, I mentioned in the aforementioned Discord server how the archivist was going to be portrayed as a villain. One of the responses I got, not even embellishing here, is that doing so would be inappropriate. Someone legitimately believed that giving a rich old man a more dark and sinister characterization would go against the cheerful festival vibe, which, it just bears mentioning, they did feel Motorfest ripped off from Forza Horizon. Notwithstanding that The Crew 1 was a literal street racing game, and notwithstanding that The Crew 2 also had characters with literal controversies like cheating and breaking the law. Truly, in no way was the Rematch story that I came up with out of bounds with the existing stories told by Ivory Tower across the franchise. And hell, all of this was being done with the very tools provided by Ivory Tower to begin with. The in-game video editor, as well as the ability to have custom events at all. So, at the end of the day, what I am left with is a story that I told in a game that I love that ultimately I have to be happy with, even if nobody else cares one way or the other. Part of me wonders if I am splitting hairs here, but then I remind myself that I will probably be rewatching these videos 1 or 2 years from now, and I'll still enjoy them in much the same way. I will not be the kind of person who consumes the content and then forgets about it in 6 months, which is something that 99% of people do on YouTube and social media as a whole. If you listen to my ramblings, I appreciate it. There is a bit more to come. There are things I do want to talk about, but I am going to need a bit of time for those things. For now, thank y'all for listening, and I will see y'all in the next videos. Also, filming in this game sucks. I am never doing this again.